Hi, my name is Jordan Brannon, and I'm the president at Coalition Technologies. We're one of the leading SEO agencies in the United States, and today I want to talk about one of the most important topics in SEO. That's link building. Tons and tons of money is spent on link building as an SEO strategy in 2020 and has been over the past 20 years. A lot of it, I feel, is incorrectly spent and frankly is wasted money because I think most SEOs and many website owners fail to understand the basic premises that drive link building as important to ranking, and ultimately that leads them down bad tactics and tactics that ultimately will lose their value in a rather short period of time. So today I want to specifically think about and talk about how we view link building in 2020 and how Google views link building in 2020 and how that's changed over time, and maybe predict a little bit about where we think it's going to go as a result. Now, when Google first started, any link was treated largely the same. In Google's ranking algorithm, the site that had the most links would rank better than a site with less links. It was a pretty simple equation. Have more links, rank better. Have less links, rank worse. Over time, Google realized that that was pretty easy to manipulate because people could just add hundreds of links onto a single web page, and it didn't really do anything to improve the ranking algorithm when people were manipulating it that way. So Google started to weight certain links as being more important than others. An analogy that I've used over time is to think about it like our voting process in the United States, where we have delegates that represent large populations of people in the Electoral College, and it's based on the votes of those particular delegates that we have a president who gets elected. Similarly with Google, certain web pages began to have outsized impact in terms of a link from that particular website to your website would have more influence than a link from another web page that maybe had less authority or a smaller audience. An example might be Jordan's personal blog on things that are happening in the Pacific Northwest.com. May not be a very popular website, but ultimately a link passed to your website could have some benefit. However, if you got a link from the NewYorkTimes.com to your website, that New York Times link would be more beneficial to you. Part of what Google was doing was it was taking popularity with the public and using it as a factor in terms of saying like, hey, public opinion and public popularity is going to keep a site like the New York Times from engaging in sort of underhanded link sale processes, whereas Jordan's personal blog website on the Pacific Northwest, maybe I am open to taking a few bucks to sell a link to a particular web page. And so Google sort of depended on popularity as a way of controlling for sort of underhanded things. It also said like, hey, if a website is more popular with people online, it's got a bigger audience, a link to this particular web page is likely to be more relevant to other users. So the size of the audience that a particular web page could command then meant that Google felt like more of its audience should have access to that same web page, and so that was sort of how it played into ranking. Now, for a long time, most SEOs have operated on this really simple equation: high domain authority, better link. And that's sort of been how they've approached link building, and that's all they're doing even today. They spend a ton of time looking at DA or domain authority as the primary driver of how they choose where to pursue link building. And ultimately, it's why so many webmasters and site owners and marketing teams end up being really frustrated by the lack of SEO results. Google has really moved beyond that simplicity. There's a few different things that now play a big role in ranking, and I'll explain a little bit why. Google knows that there is tons and tons and tons and tons of new content that is published every day on every imaginable topic online. Because of the sheer volume of content that is being published online, any particular link that you get is just a drop in the bucket on any particular topic. And so Google has started to do a few different things with links, and these really should influence your link building strategy in 2020 and 2021 and so on. First, because so much new content is published, even on high authority websites every day relating to a huge range of topics, Google does look at recency. If there is a new link on a relevant topic posted today, it's going to have more of an impact than a link from yesterday. Now, again, certain websites will have more authority than others, And so perhaps the New York Times link yesterday is still going to be more valuable than Jordan's Emporium or Jordan's personal blog on the Pacific Northwest sort of website. If I give that link out today, the New York Times link from yesterday is still probably going to be more impactful, right? However, a New York Times article link from 4 years ago may actually be less relevant in Google's ranking algorithm than a smaller personal blog linking to your site today. So there's this need to continue to build links today and not simply try to rest on the links that you were able to achieve in the past. And so that's a real challenge because a lot of link building strategies really don't think about how you can scale and sustain them over time. They're really focused on accruing a sum of links, letting it go for a while, accruing a sum of links and letting it go for a while. And so you really have to dial into recency because ultimately Google knows the way that we consume the internet today is based on recency. We look at our news feed based on recency, we look at our email inbox based on recency, we look at our social media feeds based on recency. So recency drives a lot of what links will matter to you as a business today. I already touched on this, but authority still matters. So Google does still look at sites that are very popular or have a high authority or have a good reputation, and it will still use that as a factor in terms of ranking your site or giving you more benefit up from a particular link based on the linking site's authority and their perceived value to Google search engine users too. Now, the other thing is the relevance. So Google looks at sort of how relevant is this particular source to your particular landing page. And so if I'm running a website that talks about the Pacific Northwest and the federal government's national park website for Mount Rainier happens to link to my website, that's strong relevance. And Google may say like, hey, that link, because it's a high authority link and because it's highly relevant to the topic of your website and your particular landing page, we're going to make it count for more in how we view and where we decide you're going to be ranking. So relevance is really important. Now, one of the other things to think about is that relevance occurs not only at a page-specific level, a URL-specific level, it also occurs at a domain-specific level. So if I get a link from the New York Times travel section to my Pacific Northwest blog page, that is going to have some relevance, and I may get some benefit again from the authority of the New York Times page. However, if I get a high authority site with highly relevant content itself to my topic, it's going to be more relevant to Google's ranking algorithm and decisions about where I should rank on that topic. And so part of what you want to pursue is page-specific relevance from your source link to your destination link, and also domain-specific relevance from the source link to your specific page link. When you can achieve those things, you'll see your ranks improve as a result. So again, recency, really a big factor now. Something that most SEOs just aren't putting enough emphasis on is really how do I get more links today? How do I build a link building strategy that will sustain into the future? Past that, relevance remains really, really important. We want to look at sort of the relevance of a particular URL that's linking to your URL, and the relevance of a particular domain linking to your particular domain, and then of course authority, which we talked about. And really that's about public opinion, public popularity. Google is looking at how many people are using Google as a way of accessing specific websites, how often specific websites are selected from search results pages, and that starts to influence its public popularity perception of particular domains, which in turn plays into the importance of a link to you. So that's why link building is super important. Today, Google still uses it as a way of determining how relevant and how important your particular content is for a specific search query, and it still helps Google in terms of accessing and indexing the web, which is one of its big underlying functions. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions or comments, we again will have the link to a blog that covers this in a bit more detail just below in the YouTube description, or you can reach out to us through any of our social media channels, which we'll also link, or we can interact in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this, hope it was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know. Bye.